Alabama STEM Explorers is made possible by the generous support of Hudson Alpha Institute for Biotechnology, Southern Research, solving the world's hardest problems, the Holly Family Foundation, Alabama Works, Alabama STEM Council, Alabama Mathematics, Science, Technology, and Engineering Coalition for Education, Alabama Math, Science, and Technology Initiative.
Do you see that? The water is vibrating in time to the music. It's like the water is dancing to the beats. I wonder why that happens. Let's find out.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Alabama STEM Explorers. I'm Kathryn.
And I'm Anderson.
And Anderson and I are here at Southern Research in Birmingham, Alabama.
I was just telling Kathryn about my trombone. Whenever I play my trombone loud or quiet, it made vibrations in my water. I don't know why, so that's what I'm asking Kathryn.
Yeah, that's a great question, Anderson. So the reason that you saw those vibrations is because of sound waves.
You mean like waves in the ocean?
Well, kind of, but sound waves are a type of mechanical wave that causes something to vibrate.
Oh, I still don't get it.
Yeah, that's okay. So there are a few different kinds of waves. You have sound waves and you have light waves, but the interesting thing about sound waves is that they require a medium to travel through. A medium can be anything from a solid to a liquid to a gas. But let me ask you this. So the water was vibrating. Was the table vibrating?
No.
Okay, all right, good. So let me, have you ever stood next to a motorcycle and felt the vibrations?
Yes, and it was very loud.
Yeah, I bet. And so the reason that that's happening is that a vibrating object makes the air around it vibrate. And that is going to create sound waves that transmit through the air into our ears. Once those waves strike our eardrums, they cause them to vibrate. Bones in the middle of our ear then transfer these vibrations of the eardrum to the fluid-filled inner ear. That movement of the fluid-filled inner ear causes the hair-like nerve receptors to start moving, all right? And that causes electromagnetic pulses to be generated and carried along the auditory nerve in the brain, okay? And then the brain is going to perceive these signals as sound.
Okay, speaking of sounds, that sounds complicated.
The human body is pretty complicated. Is this starting to make sense?
Kind of.
Okay, so here's the deal. Anytime we talk about sound or sound waves, you've got to get one point. And the big picture is vibration, vibration, vibration. And the best way to investigate sound waves and vibration is with using a tuning fork. Have you ever seen
a tuna fork?
No, not tuna fork, a tuning fork. Have you ever seen one of these before?
I don't think so.
So these are pretty neat. They're not really that special by themselves, but they can make some beautiful chimes when you hit it just right. So some doctors use these for hearing tests, but today we are going to investigate how sound transmits through waves. And so right here I have my tuning fork. And do you think that we can transfer these waves through this solid ping pong ball?
That's impossible.
Do you think? All right, so let's give it a shot. So I'm gonna hold my tuning fork right up here. All right, nothing is happening, right? And the reason nothing is happening is because it's not vibrating. And so what I want you to do, Anderson, is I want you to take that mallet, strike it pretty hard, and then stick it right up next to the ping pong ball. All right, there you go. Perfect, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. Yes, all right, so those vibrations, the two tines in our tuning fork are vibrating, and that is causing the vibrations to travel through the ping pong ball, which is going to give it that movement. We could do this all day long. Check this out.
Wow.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? it just goes and goes and goes. Woohoo! All right, so this would be an example of the waves traveling through a solid. And we can hear the waves whenever we strike it. Do you hear that beautiful chime?
Yeah.
That is an example of it traveling through the air. But what about water? Do you think we can get it to travel through some water?
Maybe?
Okay, so I have a little bowl of water. I'm gonna put my tuning fork in here. Do you see anything? Any waves in there?
No.
No, not really. And why do you think that is?
Because it's not vibrating.
That's right, we haven't hit it. So I'm gonna let you hold this with your left hand. You can take your tuning fork, just strike it on the bench right here and check it out. See if you can see some vibrations in there. Yes, okay, so those waves are definitely traveling. Let's try it one more time. Here we go, you ready? Oh, yeah, so are you convinced sound waves can definitely travel through a liquid? Anderson can testify to that.
I definitely think it can.
Yes, Anderson is convinced. I hope that you are too.
So I understand now, the trombone makes vibrations just like all the other things that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And now, Anderson, I don't really know how to play the trombone, but I can make some pretty mean beats with just a couple of straws.
Straws?
Yeah, that's right. And I love this experiment so much because not only can you very easily do this thing at home, but if you have a brother or sister, this is a great way to annoy them, all right? So all you need for this experiment is a couple of straws, your teeth, and a pair of scissors. So what we're gonna do is, here is a straw for you, and I'm gonna take this blue straw. So the first step of this experiment is you're gonna take the straw and you're just gonna grind it in your teeth. You wanna flatten that tip. Yeah, just like that, Anderson, perfect. I'm good, yeah, Okay, is it getting nice and flat? Okay, all right, cool. So now the tip of our straw is flat, you can see that. And now here are some scissors. And what you wanna do at this step is you just wanna cut a point. So right in the middle, so it'll kind of make a little triangle at the end. All right, perfect. It does not have to be perfect. All right. Good job, okay, great job. And so now, what we can do is just like how you play another instrument, we're just gonna blow into our song and we're gonna make some beats. Are you ready? Okay, well, let's try one of these smaller straws. What color do you want?
Green.
Green, all right, here is a green straw for you. I'm gonna take a pink straw. So we can do it with smaller straws, and I'm thinking that the pitch or the tune will be a little bit different. What do you think?
Maybe.
All right, we'll do the same thing. That's
Tasty.
Right. Yeah, delicious. All right, and now we're gonna cut our point on our smaller straw, and we are gonna have our own little jam band. Are you ready? And for these smaller straws, this is a little long, so let's go ahead and cut, I'll cut the end off for you to make it a little shorter. Usually that helps. So, are you ready? 3, 2, 1. This is great, I love this. So something that's really neat about your trombone, I heard you playing earlier, is whenever you extended the trombone further, did it make a higher pitch or a lower pitch?
A lower pitch.
That's right, and that is because there is more air that is vibrating inside. And so how do you think we could change the pitch of our straw bones, like trombone with straw bones? How do you think we could do that?
Maybe cut off a little bit?
Yeah, let's try it out. So just take your scissors, are you ready? And just go. You're so much better at that than me. I'm gonna try my small straw. All right. Oh, this is awesome. So I hope all of you guys will make a jam band at home. This is something you definitely want to try at home.
When I was 11 years old, I went and took my dad's old CDs, and I had just got my first MP3, so I downloaded it all on the computer so I could fill up my new MP3 player. I came across a bunch of old records that I knew, you know, Pink Floyd, the Beatles, which I love, you know, all those classic records. One in particular, Zeppelin 1, came up, and I really didn't know that music could be like that. Like, I'd heard the music before, but for some reason, So my 11-year-old brain, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to live in this moment. Whatever it is, I have to be a part of this. And so from there, I started learning how to play guitar. I had a drum set when I was really young, bass and stuff like that. And that really transitioned into me playing bass in the high school marching band, also being on the drum line and stuff like that. So music just became a really big part of my life. You know, I've always been a music lover, and that has always been my thing, right? I moved up here to go to college over at UNA, and when I wanted to go to UNA, I went to the Entertainment Industry Business degree over at UNA, which is a great program. And I want to be an A&R guy. I want to be that guy that could, you know, wine, dine, schmooze, have fun with everybody. Never wanted to be an engineer because I didn't want to be that guy stuck inside of a room for 17 hours at a time. And so, of course, once I got a little bit deeper into college, one of my friends started interning here over at Fame. And so at first he was like, Spencer, you got to go over to Fame, man. I thought you wanted to be in the music business. I was like, all right, man, that's cool. And I kind of brushed him off a little bit, and he was like, oh man, you gotta really go over there. I was like, oh man, I don't know. And it wasn't long before I really just fell in love with the music production process and just wanted to be a part of it any way I possibly could be. So engineering just kind of became my segue into that world. And so I started hanging out here about 2.5 years before I graduated college. So that last year I was in school. I was a full-time employee here. I had worked on Greg Allman's last album, which got nominated for a Grammy, worked with Don Was, all these other producers. You know, I was just, you know, on top of all that, I just fell in love and, for lack of a better word, really just became addicted to the studio life, right? And so I started my career, and now after I've been here for 7 years, I'm the studio manager, I'm an engineer here, I'm assigned as a songwriter here, and for me, that really is where my passion lies. Even though I make a living engineering and taking care of the studio, songwriting is just, it's the secret to all of this, right? I want to pull on someone's heartstrings. I either want to make them cry, laugh, love, or something like that. So that's, I don't know, in a nutshell, why I love music. I was always good at math. I always loved science and all that good stuff. As far as scientific stuff goes, I'm always thinking about physics, right? Because water is a lot like sound, right? It's compression waves, just like as you imagine, like if you dropped a pebble in the ocean, sound works the same way. So I'm always thinking about how sound reflects around things, through doors, directions of sounds. High frequencies are more directional, low frequencies are, you know, more omnidirectional. So I'm always thinking about that. I mean, math, truthfully, I don't know. I just try to do quick math. But really, the vast majority of what I do is I just deal with people, right? So even though I have all these skills that have been built up in my head through all my lifetime of being interested in this kind of stuff, it really is about taking care of people. If you can just get yourself out of the way, take care of others, and really have an ear open for them, you're gonna have that success. You're gonna have people want to come back to you and all that kind of good stuff, because it's about taking care of people. That's honestly what all of life is about taking care of others, you know? So to be able to do this, especially here, is very, very special to me.
Hello, and welcome to Alabama STEM Explorers, here at Alabama State University in Montgomery. I am Keshia, and I'm here with my friend Cruz. Cruz, have you ever been to a football game or in a stadium where they did the wave?
I have.
Oh, let's do it. How do they do it? Woo, yes. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about today is waves. They're all different types of waves. And so we're going to use this little bead here to demonstrate waves. So I want you to stretch it out and I'll hold one end of it.
Here you go.
All right. So let's see. Can you make a wave? Just let it move up and down. Let's see if we get some waves going. Yes.
Look at all those waves.
I see them. Just like waves in the ocean. All right. Let's stop for a moment. Let's just straighten our waves. I'll just show a few waves. What does this, do you know what this top part right here represents?
This represents the crest.
Yes, that is the crest. And so when we're measuring wavelengths, this distance from this crest to this crest is the wavelength. And so we want to make sure that we understand measuring wavelengths. And then we have amplitude, and that's talking about how high it goes. So we have different waves that move in different ways. And so do you think that waves can move through solid, liquid, and gases?
No.
No, they actually can. It's a common misconception that they cannot. But waves move through solids, liquids, and gases. And so we're going to look at that in a little more detail. Let's look at this right here. We're going to slide this up. Let's look at our slinky here. You hold one end and I'll hold the other end. So long as it's straight and we're still, we don't have waves, do we? But once we start to move it, look, what do we see? Oh, the crest coming up and down. Yes, so we have our ocean waves. So you think about like the particles that are in an ocean. When waves move, they don't pass along in the wave, but they flow up and down as the wave carries the energy. Just like surfers who like to get in there, as they say, ride the waves. Have you ever been surfing?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, that is what they do with waves. And so we have the different types of waves that move up and down, and they move like this. See, if we were to take our slinky and move it over, that's representing, those are much smaller crests, but those are still part of the wave motion. Let's look back at this right here. Let's see, can you get a little sound with that when you move it faster? Does it change? Do you hear anything that changes as far as like thinking about frequency?
You want me to do it really fast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you hear like you hear a little yes, and so then that's when we start looking at frequency and how high the sound is. You know, when you listen to the radio, we have frequency waves that help you listen to the radio station and hear whatever the radio broadcaster or your favorite music. Where else have you heard the word waves before in a household item that you might have in your kitchen?
Waves.
How do you warm your food up?
Microwave.
Yes. So in a microwave, those are very small waves, and that's where the name actually came from. Those waves are used to heat up your food. And if you think about it, waves have a very powerful impact on the things we use every day that you probably didn't even think about. Right? Okay. You have any questions as we move before we move to the next part?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. So if I were to ask you to demonstrate me a crest, how would you demonstrate the crest?
I would. So the crest is the top part of the wave.
Yes.
So this would be the crest.
Yes.
The top part.
That's good.
And if it was going, if it was going down, this would be the crest.
Yeah, we actually call this, and then this area down here is the trough. So that's another new vocabulary word we add in our trough. And so then we know that waves can move very fast. They can be very tightly moved about, or they can be spaced out really far. Let's space those out on that end. So these are some very close waves. And see that?
Yeah.
And where have you also seen this? What does this remind you of?
The ocean.
The ocean. And what else? Like if you've gone in a hospital and they're looking at your, monitoring something on your body. What does it monitor?
Your heartbeat.
Your heartbeat. Yes, your heart rate. They are using their different types of waves. They call them PQR waves. They're used in that part. So we have ways that help us to understand different things, and we interpret them. People have careers where they study just waves in their profession. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Had you ever thought about this before?
I haven't. I barely know anything about this, but you have explained a lot.
All right. So, hey, let's do the wave as we wave off.
Hey!
I moved here in 1996, and this is my 25th year at Auburn. So we are passionate about the profession of audiology because it's important. It's a growing profession, it's allied health, and we are seeing more older people suffering from hearing loss and cognitive decline this past year than ever before. So we are seeing a major explosion in audiology services now happening. We look into the ear with something that looks like this, an otoscope, and we want to make sure there's no earwax and the eardrum is moving clearly. But we look beyond the eardrum and we'll test for things beyond the eardrum, and one of the things that we want to do is see if there's permanent damage to the nerve. And if they do, then they are entitled to get hearing services from hearing aids, so they need amplification. Hearing aids are now rechargeable. They can be like computers, you know, we can put all kinds of fancy programs on them. People can hear a heck of a lot better than they did in previous years, even from my own experience. And so we have more clarity, We have more cosmetic value, which is big in hearing aids. People don't want to show that they're wearing hearing aids even now. So the profession of audiology can be built into hearing science, which is the science behind hearing tests, which is what we predominantly do. And then the last two things, the hearing aid and then giving them the rehab that they need. Audiology involves a lot of physics, and sound is wave motion. So it's the motion of waves going from the speaker to the listener. So essentially, when I'm talking, I'm actually moving air molecules in front of me, and those air molecules are traveling to your ear, and they're making your eardrum move, tiny bones move, and finally the nerve is getting the sensation of the sound that I just. So it's basically, it needs a medium to be propagated. That medium right now is air, because air molecules are moving from me towards you, but it can also be done by water. It can also be moved by metallic substances. So solids and liquids also can transmit sound, but air is the most efficient medium to transmit sound. And so what we really are doing in this profession is using tones, which are waves, to test their hearing, figure out how much hearing loss they have, and then we correct for that hearing loss with the appropriate hearing aid. So we have a prescription built in according to their individual hearing, and then we tailor and tune the hearing aids according to that. And so finally they get all those waves back. My advice to middle school students who are interested in the STEM disciplines is please give importance to physics. A lot of people avoid physics. Everything that we do, standing up, walking, driving, laughing, speaking, everything is physics. Hearing is physics. So I wish every student, regardless of what they were going into, whether it was arts, humanities, science, they all must know physics, because everything that we do in the real world is physics.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I want to know, how come soda pop fizzes?
This question makes me thirsty. The fizz is a chemical process. Carbon dioxide is the gas that puts the carbon into carbonated drinks like soft drinks. Carbonation occurs when carbon dioxide dissolves in water or a watery solution. Manufacturers inject millions of molecules of carbon dioxide into each bottle or can, then they seal those cans and bottles up. And an open bottle of soft drink is airtight and bubble-free because the high pressure forces the carbon dioxide into the liquid around it. Remember that gaseous carbon dioxide that was at the top of the can? Once you open the can, it escapes, and now the can is no longer under pressure. The dissolved carbon dioxide starts coming out of the solution. This forms bubbles, which releases the carbon dioxide in the air. So in other words, when you open the bottle, you reduce the pressure, letting the carbon dioxide invisibly take flight, causing fizz.
I was in high school, I was good at math, didn't really have a lot of direction about in the real world what I wanted to do. In unique circumstances, so that was about the time the 2008 recession kind of hit. And I came from a lower income household. So I was looking, I don't want to do this anymore. And I looked and said, hey, all of those people are still working, the engineers and what we now call STEM. All of those people were still working, and come to find out, that's because we basically keep the lights on, we're keeping the world running, even when markets crash. It's a needed job. And I looked at that and I said, hey, those people have job security, they're compensated well, and I did more research into it. They did a lot of the troubleshooting and fixing and taking things apart. And went to school for 4 years and found out that I really, really did like that. And then that's kind of led me to where I am today. I really enjoy working with the people that I work with. On top of that, in my particular role as an engineer, I do a lot of hands-on troubleshooting. So equipment is designed and then it's in service for 60 years. And so there are times when things break and you don't replace the whole piece of equipment. So an engineer may come in and kind of reverse engineer it, figure out how it worked in the first place, and then why did it break. And so a lot of times I'm the hands-on help that does that. And that's by far the most rewarding piece of what I do. I would say there's endless opportunities in STEM. So we live in especially if you're coming up, now you're a middle schooler or high schooler, you're surrounded by technology, and you've always been surrounded by technology. What you don't understand is there's lots of things that go on behind the scenes to make all of that happen, and that's STEM, all of it is STEM. And it's always gonna be there, so like hospitals, that's a really important part of society. Okay, well there's engineers that make that happen. Law offices and stuff like that. There's all forms of society that in one way or another, some STEM field touches that. So, don't think that, hey, I need to only be a lawyer, I need to only be an engineer, I need to only do this. There are lots of options, and engineers support a lot of those core things that you don't really realize as a kid that allow you to do all that.
Thanks for watching Alabama STEM Explorers. If you missed anything or you want to watch something again, you can check out our website at alabamastemexplorers.org. Maybe you have a question we could answer here on the show, and you might grab a cool t-shirt. Feel free to send us a video question or an email on our website, alabamastemexplorers.org. Thanks again for watching. We'll be back next week.
Alabama STEM Explorers is made possible by the generous support of Hudson Alpha Institute for Biotechnology, translating the power of genomics into real-world results. Southern Research, solving the world's hardest problems. The Hawley Family Foundation, established to honor the legacy of Brigadier General Everett Hawley and his parents, Evelyn and Fred Hawley, champions of servant leadership. Alabama Works, a network of interconnected providers connecting business and industry needs to a highly skilled and trained workforce. Alabama STEM Council, dedicated to improving STEM education, career awareness, and workforce development across Alabama. Alabama Mathematics, Science, Technology, and Engineering Coalition for Education, advocating for exceptional STEM education in Alabama. Alabama Math, Science, and Technology Initiative, the Alabama Department of Education's initiative to improve math and science teaching statewide.